You open your refrigerator, trusting it to keep your food fresh and safe, just like you've done for years. But what if I told you that some of the foods you've been chilling could be quietly losing their nutrients, developing harmful compounds, or even becoming a breeding ground for bacteria? It's an unsettling thought, isn't it? Especially when so many of us rely on our refrigerators to preserve the foods we love and depend on for our health. This is exactly why we're having this conversation today. Because the truth is, some foods don't belong in the fridge at all. In fact, refrigerating them can do more harm than good, something many of us, especially those of us over 60, might not realize. Our immune systems aren't as strong as they used to be, and the last thing we want is to unknowingly put ourselves at risk. So, let's talk about these foods, why they're better off staying out of the cold, and how storing them properly can help you get the most out of their flavor, nutrients, and safety. We'll start with two foods you might never have guessed shouldn't go in the fridge: potatoes and bread. Picture that bag of potatoes sitting in your fridge right now. It seems like a sensible place, doesn't it? Cool, dark, just like a root cellar. But here's the problem. Refrigerating potatoes triggers a chemical reaction you can't see, but definitely don't want. The cold turns their starches into sugars much faster than normal. And when those sugary potatoes are cooked, especially at high temperatures, like roasting or frying, they can form a compound called acrylamide. Now, acrylamide isn't something you want on your plate. It's been linked to cancer in animal studies, and while research is still ongoing for humans, why take the chance? And it's not just about health. Refrigerated potatoes also lose their texture. They become grainy, mushy, and often develop dark spots, a sign they're oxidizing and losing nutrients. Instead of that hearty, comforting taste you love, you're left with something bland and unappetizing. So, where should you store them? Think like a farmer. A cool, dark, dry place is ideal. A pantry or a cupboard away from sunlight works perfectly. If you've got potatoes in the fridge right now, take them out. Your body and your taste buds will thank you. Now let's talk about bread. Many of us pop it straight into the fridge thinking it'll stay fresh longer. But here's the surprising truth. The fridge actually makes bread go stale faster. It's all about the starch molecules. Cold temperatures cause them to crystallize almost immediately, turning your soft, fluffy loaf into something dry and crumbly overnight. And there's another hidden danger. When bread loses moisture in the fridge, it creates the perfect environment for mold to grow once it's back at room temperature. Some molds produce mycotoxins, which can be especially harmful for older adults with weaker immune systems. Ever cut into a loaf only to find a patch of green fuzz? That's the fridge's doing. If you want to extend your bread's life, freezing is the way to go. Slice it first, then thaw slices as needed. They'll taste just as fresh as the day you bought them. But the fridge? That's a one-way ticket to stale, potentially risky bread. Keep it in a bread box or a sealed container at room temperature instead. These are just the first two foods on our list, but already you can see how small changes in how we store things can make a big difference. It's all about working with nature, not against it, something that becomes even more important as we get older and our bodies need all the help they can get. You know that feeling when you slice into a tomato, expecting that bright, juicy burst of flavor, only to be met with something mealy and bland? Or when you reach for an onion to add depth to your cooking, but it's turned soft and moldy in the fridge? These little disappointments aren't just about taste. They're signs that we're storing these foods all wrong. And when we're over 60, every bite counts. We need those nutrients, those flavors, and most importantly, that safety. So let's keep going with our list, because the next few foods might surprise you even more. Tomatoes are one of the biggest victims of refrigeration. Think about it. They are tropical fruits at heart, and they hate the cold. When you put them in the fridge, their ripening process stops dead in its tracks. That's a problem because ripening is where all that delicious, tangy sweetness comes from. Instead, you're left with a tomato that's lost its soul. Watery, dull, and with a texture that's more rubber than fruit. But it's not just about taste. Honey belongs in your pantry. in a tightly sealed jar, away from direct sunlight. It'll stay smooth, flavorful, and just as powerful as the day you bought it. Bananas are a go-to for so many of us. Easy to digest, packed with potassium, and a quick energy boost. But refrigerating them? That's a surefire way to ruin everything that makes them great. Bananas are tropical, and cold temperatures shock their delicate enzymes. Instead of ripening evenly, their skins turn black. The flesh turns mushy in odd patches, and they develop a strange metallic taste. Even more concerning, refrigeration damages the antioxidants in bananas, like dopamine and catechins, which are crucial for brain health and fighting inflammation. If your bananas are ripening too fast on the counter, freeze them, peeled, for smoothies or baking later. But the fridge? It's a banana's worst enemy now. Here's the one that might surprise you the most. Olive oil. Many of us keep it in the fridge, thinking it'll stay fresher longer. But when olive oil gets cold, it solidifies into a cloudy, hard mass. Every time you take it out to use it, the temperature shifts cause oxidation, which creates free radicals, the very thing we're trying to avoid for heart health. Oxidized olive oil loses its anti-inflammatory benefits and can even contribute to joint pain or digestive issues. Plus, the flavor dulls, robbing you of that rich, peppery taste that makes Mediterranean food so delightful. Store olive oil in a dark glass bottle or metal tin in a cool, dark cupboard, never near the stove or in the fridge. It'll keep its health benefits and flavor for up to 2 years. For many of us, coffee is more than a drink. It's a ritual, a moment of comfort. But if you're storing your coffee beans or grounds in the fridge, you're sabotaging that perfect cup. Coffee absorbs moisture and odors like a sponge, so it picks up the smells of last night's leftovers. Even worse, the condensation from temperature changes makes coffee clump, go stale faster, and lose the essential oils that give it aroma and health benefits. Keep coffee in an airtight container in a dark cupboard. Your mornings will taste better, and you'll get the full antioxidant boost that makes coffee so good for you. It's funny, isn't it? We put so much care into choosing the right foods, organic, fresh, nutrient-rich. But sometimes, it's the simple act of where we store them that makes all the difference. And when we get it right, we're not just avoiding waste or weird textures. We're honoring the food's natural design and giving our bodies the best possible fuel. So here's my challenge to you. Take a quick look in your fridge today. If you spot any of these foods hiding in there, give them a new home. It's a small change, but one that'll make your meals tastier, your ingredients healthier, and your kitchen a little more joyful. I'd love to hear from you. Have you been refrigerating any of these foods without realizing? What's the first one you'll take out? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this conversation has been helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more tips on living well after 60. Here's to good food, smart storage, and many more delicious meals ahead. Cheers!